Everybody, I'm Max Kellerman. Welcome to this Just in a Fast Hour around the world of sports and how I and some of my friends see it. That is GM Mike Tannenbaum, Louis Riddick, and Jeremy Fowler. Join us in just a moment. And we start with a statement win for the Dallas Cowboys. Dak and the Cowboys had their best performance of the season. They destroyed the Vikings 40-3. The offense and defense, obviously, when it's 40-3, were both excellent. Cowboys' biggest road win in terms of point differential franchise history. Here's Jerry Jones.
Do you see this team as being one of the teams that's in it to contend for a championship, or how do you look at this team, what you've seen to this point?
A resounding yes. Yes. Unequivocally yes. I think we've had adversity. We very easily could have some more adversity. But I sure do think that what I see out here right now is the team like that you could go get a Super Bowl with.
There is the great Louis Riddick, and there's the intrepid Jeremy Fowler, who is dressed like he's in a barbershop quartet, but will spit bars on demand on the radio in the morning.
Bro. Looking good.
Mike T, let me start with you. Do you agree with Jerry? Is this a Super Bowl team?
100%. When you look at the ceiling of the Dallas Cowboys and their A game, they're 6th in offensive efficiency. They're 8th in defensive efficiency. Absolutely, they can do it all. They have a superstar right there in Tony Pollard, who's unbelievable in space with the ball. They have a very efficient quarterback in Dak Prescott. And when you go to the other side of the ball, as long as they stop the run, they have a dominant front seven that can rush the passer. Ask Kirk Cousins. So when Dak Prescott plays the way he does and this sort of accuracy, they're going to be impossible to beat, and they should be the presumptive favorites in the NFC.
Yeah, I thought they beat the Vikings, and Louis, that's partly because I thought the Vikings would be enamored with what happened last week and the Justin Jefferson catch, and they would drop back too much, and then you unleash Micah Parsons. But do you agree with Mike T and with Jerry Jones, or are they susceptible to a team that might run it a little more than the Vikings did last night?
Oh, they're absolutely susceptible. Sure, look, the Vikings, coming out early in that football game, do you see how Dalvin Cook was running the football in the wide zones? Then all of a sudden they just stopped doing it. They just stopped doing it, and they wanted to show how cool it looked when they threw the football to T.J. Hawkinson. They wanted to show how cool it looked when they spread it out and wanted to throw the football around, and they got into trouble. That's exactly what Dallas wants you to do. They want you to stop playing bully ball and let them tee off with their front seven, or their front four in particular, as far as their pass rush is concerned. And Minnesota played right into it, and Kirk Cousins was then sitting there holding the football, sitting there in the pocket, acting like he had extra time when you have guys like Micah Parsons just tracking you down, and DeMarcus Lawrence. And that's a recipe for disaster against Dallas. And then when they're able to run the football the way they were yesterday and have that kind of balance between Pollard and between Ezekiel Elliott, and Dak could then be that efficient throwing the football and making decisions, look, it's a recipe that's hard to beat. You have to play them a certain way. Minnesota abandoned it. Washington didn't. And that's what, Washington's the kind of team that can wind up beating this team because they run the football. Philadelphia, the same kind of thing, can beat this team because they're a team that will run the football and stick with it. Green Bay showed it. These are the kind of teams that can give them trouble. But if you play like Minnesota did, they're going to get you right where they want you.
I mean, Micah Parsons is so good. You say the word DeMarcus Lawrence. Think of him. And you're like, it's not the first name. Like, it's Micah Parsons. Oh, yeah, by the way, DeMarcus Lawrence, too. Speaking of Micah Parsons, Jeremy, he returned to the game after his knee injury scare. What information do you have for us?
Well, Max, I checked in with somebody with Dallas. I was told that Micah Parsons is, quote, feeling fine. Now, they'll monitor him. They'll probably rest him a little bit early in the week. But Parsons said after the game that he was feeling great. No major issues early on, at least on the initial testing. So I know Parsons wants nothing more than to get the clean sweep of the New York Giants this year. He wants to help with that Thursday night, but they'll make that determination later on in the week.
Yeah, and listen, the Cowboys get my beloved New York Football Giants on Thanksgiving. The Giants are not that talented to begin with and so banged up now. They lose their best corner. They lose, I would say right now, their best receiver. They don't have their best tight end. Like, it's a problem. And yet, as Lewis points out, some teams are going to run the football, and that's a little different for the Cowboys. A team like the New York Football Giants, they run and run with Saquon Barkley. If the question is football, the answer is Patrick Mahomes. I don't know how many times I got to say it. Mahomes got the ball back at the KC 25-yard line with a $1:46 remaining, trailing by 4. Child's play, a $1:46. That's an embarrassing amount of time. Mahomes' magic was on full display, ending, of course, in a 17-yard TD pass to who else? Travis Kelce. That dude is a gangster. 31 seconds left. I mean, Travis Kelce. Chiefs win again, 30-27. I thought this was going to be a tough game. I thought the Chargers would nab them, but listen, Mahomes, man. The Chiefs continue to roll and on their way to home field advantage and a first-round playoff bye, probably the AFC Championship game again. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are looking to make and host their 5th straight AFC Championship appearance. It is time for another edition of My Word Against Yours. All right, guys, who's the biggest threat to the Chiefs in the AFC? Jeremy, let's start with you.
I'm going to go with the Ravens. They are the most battle-tested around. The Ravens believe that Lamar Jackson, in his 5th season, in this contract year, will put everything he needs to together to make a legitimate Super Bowl run. They believe that he's gotten better throwing to the outside as a pocket passer. We know he can run it when they need to. But this defense is beefed up in a big way. Marlon Humphrey and those boys were looking great yesterday in pass coverage. Justin Houston has sort of found the fountain of youth in his 20th year, whatever year it is for him. And so I would say the Chargers here, but they can't beat the Chiefs, so I can't possibly pick them.
All right, Mike, what do you think?
The Tennessee Titans, we just talked about Patrick Mahomes and all the fireworks they have in offense. The best way to defend Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, give the ball to Derrick Henry. All this team was a year ago was the 1 seed. They have a really efficient quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, who's been a little up and down. They've had a ton of injuries, but Derrick Henry is the great equalizer in playoff football. And if they can get a couple guys back on defense led by Jeffrey Simmons, this defense can actually hang in there against the Chiefs. So if one team can beat it, I love the way the Titans are built for playoff success.
And Vrabel, by the way, like the Chiefs, they have a great coach. What do you think, Lewis? Who's the biggest threat?
I don't understand why we've all of a sudden fallen off the Buffalo Bills. But I still think that they are the team that's best equipped because, look, they're going to get healthier down the stretch. Greg Rousseau will be back. And I'll tell you this, on the offensive side, they can match them point for point. It's really the only team in the AFC that can, maybe outside of Miami. And Miami cannot be discounted at this point either because they can put up points like nobody's business, and their defense is getting better. But right now, you have to say it's Buffalo. Go back to the beginning of the season when they were healthy and when we were talking about Brandon Beane, and we did go up there to see them play the Tennessee Titans and absolutely just blank Derrick Henry with that front 7 that they have and get after the passer in a way with Von Miller that maybe no other team in the AFC can do, especially in big moments against a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Buffalo will be there in the end. I still think that this is headed down a collision course between Buffalo and Kansas City in the AFC title game. Although the AFC is stocked, man. They have people who have firepower and defenses that are on the rise, like Baltimore, like Miami. And I think, look, this is going to be a fun one to watch in the month of December for sure. But Buffalo cannot be counted out.
Only 2 quarterbacks have led teams past Patrick Mahomes and kept him out of the Super Bowl in his career. We're deep into year 5. In his career, twice he's been kept out of the Super Bowl. Once by Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, right? And the other by Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. So Joe Burrow's proving what none of the other young guns have proven. But I'm not going to take Joe Burrow this year. It's just hard to get back. When I survey the landscape, there are 3 that jump out, and you all took one of them. Except you took the Titans for other reasons. There is Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, who gets all the press, and Justin Herbert. To me, I still can't count them out if they're healthy. And I think it's Lamar Jackson's time. Lamar Jackson has done more in terms of carrying a squad. Like, Josh Allen's got more talent on the squad. Lamar Jackson's done more in terms of carrying his squad than probably anyone in this era. He can do it almost by himself. Then they got Roquan Smith in the middle on defense now, which is a big identity thing for them, and it's paid dividends. And more than that, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, all in one way or another are kind of trying to out Mahomes. He's better at that than you. Lamar zigs where Mahomes zags, right? He is doing something a little different. I think that gives the Ravens the best chance. So there it is. It's 2 for the Ravens, me and Jeremy. 1 for the Titans. I didn't see that coming, although it's an interesting.
Remember the Titans, Max. Remember the Titans.
I will. Anyone for the Bengals? Can I interest anyone in the Bengals? They're the only ones who actually got by.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. It's time for What's the Word, highlighting some notable injuries from Week 11 so far. Jeremy Fowler, what's the word on Justin Fields?
Max, the word is monitor, because that's really all the Bears can do right now is monitor this issue, because I checked in with somebody today over there. They said they're waiting later this afternoon to see how he's feeling. He'll be in the building. They can check him out. But it's his non-throwing shoulder, which is a good sign. Coach Matt Eberflus said that he was, quote, dinged up yesterday. So should be something that he can work through, but they're going to be precautious with their top quarterback.
What's the word on Jameson Williams?
Excitement. I mean, the Lions are thrilled by even the chance of this guy coming back into the lineup with a receiving core that already has Amon-Ra St. Brown and is pretty loaded, putting up nearly 30 points per game in most weeks for the Lions. And then you get a guy they've been very cautious with. He probably could have come back earlier, recovering from that ACL tear last year, but they wanted to make sure he was totally ready. So now this practice window that they've opened for him, he's got 21 days to get back on the field, and they fully expect that. He's been trending in the right direction.
What is the word, speaking of loaded offensive teams, on Joe Mixon?
The word is protocol, because when you're in the concussion protocol, that's really the only word. There's no real diagnosis on the injury right now. He has to go through the 5 steps as mandated by the NFL and the Players Union. So the Bengals are hoping by later in the week that he can do some routines of running around, aerobics, and then eventually get